NBA fans, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another edition of preview videos. My name is Sammy Long. I did Laker preview videos for every game this season. Alan asked me to do some special preview videos of the Western Conference Finals, of the Eastern Conference Finals. We're going to be doing one for every game in each series. So stay tuned if you're with the channel all the time. Appreciate you being here. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. We really appreciate you being here as well. So starting off with the Western Conference Finals, I think the path for both these teams is interesting because normally over 2 rounds of the NBA playoffs, we have a lot of data. So we know what these teams are. But in both these teams' case, I feel like they didn't play the utmost competition at the time. I think the Timberwolves beat a Laker team that was really good, had the star power. But, I mean, I'll be honest, I picked the Lakers to win the series. This is a Laker channel. I thought that they would do that. But they didn't have a size. They had a glaring weakness in size. Jackson Hayes was the only 7-footer, and he had a really bad series. Minnesota neutralized them in really kind of outweighed the star power of Luka, LeBron, and Reeves, and were able to just use the kind of size, the length, and the bench really set up for the Timberwolves, and it didn't for the Lakers. So I give the Timberwolves a lot of credit for beating the Lakers in that series. The Lakers were fully healthy. They just didn't have the size. But then going on in Golden State, you beat a Golden State team where Curry goes out in game 1, never sees the floor again, and give him credit for it, but it feels like we never really got to see that series of what it could have been. And you beat a Laker team that didn't have a lot of size and a Warrior team that had even less size. But the Warriors have just known how to play with it the last 10 years because they've had arguably the greatest shooter of all time, and they know how they play small ball. That's what they've done in all these championships. They play small ball. They just jack up so many threes that it's tough to keep pace with them. But you take Steph Curry out of the equation, and they become a below average team. So give them credit, the Timberwolves, but don't really know if that series was all that hard when Steph Curry went out. They were beating a pretty bad Warrior team once Curry went out. And then on the Oklahoma City side, you have them beat a Memphis team in 4 games. When we look back at that series, Ja Morant got hurt in the 3rd game. And they were actually up 20 to 30 points in that game. They came all the way back once he got hurt. And then in game 4, Scottie Pippen Jr., as well as game 3, had a big game. They almost won game 4, the Memphis Grizzlies, with no Ja Morant. Ja Morant said after the series that if he hadn't got hurt, they would have won the series. I don't know that I buy that. I don't think that would have happened. But they did find something there. And those games were close in games 3 and 4. And then the Denver series, it was odd because it feels like Denver – there was times when the youth showed up for Oklahoma City, and there was times where the veteran kind of leadership of Denver showed up. Denver won the close games. Outside of game 4, when Oklahoma City, Shai had a really big 4th quarter with 8 points down the stretch in money time, it felt like the Oklahoma City either won in a boat race where they blew them out, just like game 7. Game 2 is like that as well. And a lot of the close games kind of went to the other teams. And again, Memphis lost games 3 and 4, but they didn't have their best player in Ja Morant for a majority of half of the game 3 and game 4. And then outside of game 4, that's been a concern of mine with Oklahoma City Thunder is how do they close games? Do they know how to close games? They're so young. They know they can get out and run. And I think we saw that in game 7. The Nuggets looked absolutely gassed after the 1st quarter, and they just took off. The youth of Oklahoma City, the home crowd, it was just too much for them, and they blew past them. So heading into this Western Conference Finals, it's kind of tough to get a read on both teams because you feel like both teams in terms of Timberwolves got some serious injury help with Steph Curry, and then also injury help in Ja Morant's case for the Memphis Grizzlies. And the fact that Denver doesn't play much of a bench, they were just so gassed out. It's tough to kind of get a read on this, which is why I think this is going to be a really good series. I think it's going to be a lot better series than people are giving it credit for. We'll get into that a little bit later. Right now, SGA versus Anthony Edwards. There's been a lot of discussion about who's going to be the face of the NBA. For years, it's been Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, kind of that old guard of players. But as they're kind of moving out, getting older, there's been a lot of discussion about, does it have to be an American-born player? Is it about charisma? Is it about your play on the court? Is it about how you talk with the media, how many commercials you have? There's been a lot that goes into that about who's the face of the league. And Anthony Edwards, there's been a lot of debate, too, on Talk Media today about of the 4 teams left, which is what I think makes it pretty interesting. And, obviously, we wish all of our teams were in it still. But what makes this Eastern Conference Finals and Western Conference Finals pretty fun is you have new blood in there. You got Jalen Brunson, star of the Knicks, Tyrese Halliburton of the Pacers, Edwards of Minnesota, and SGA of Oklahoma City. All fresh faces that haven't really been there before. And we kind of there was a lot of discussion about who's a superstar and who isn't. Anthony Edwards has made a case for being the face of the NBA. He's charismatic. He's beaten some of the biggest names in Kevin Durant, LeBron James. He's in a lot of commercials. He's an exciting player. He's a throwback type player where he's an elite offensive player in this game, but then he plays a lot of defense, and not a lot of guys in this league do that. They don't play both ways anymore. So there's a case to be made for Anthony Edwards. And then Alan made a really interesting point on the morning show, I thought, which is SGA. Why does he not kind of get thought of in that face of the NBA conversation? He's probably going to be the MVP. He has a real shot to win a title this year. I don't know if it's simply because he's Canadian. There's been a lot of talk, as I mentioned, about does it need to be an American-born player? He's kind of quiet. He doesn't have a huge personality. He just kind of goes out there and works and does his thing. Is that a major factor in it? But it feels like SGA doesn't really get talked about in that. I feel like if you went in a random city, in none of these cities where their home teams are, and asked people about Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, SGA, and Anthony Edwards, we went up to 10 people on the sidewalk. I think most people know Anthony Edwards is. I think he's graduated the household name level. But if you ask 10 people who SGA is, I don't know if outside of the NBA fans would know. Same kind of with Tyrese Halliburton. Jalen Brunson has the stature of being a New York Knick, which brings something with it, kind of like playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, the Boston Celtics. But still, I don't know if he counts as a household name yet. So I think these conference finals, you're kind of going to see a star born. Even though they're all stars, who's really going to ascend to that next level? Does one of these guys take it, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the potential face of the league? SGA versus Edwards is going to be a super fun matchup. They're probably going to be guarding each other for a majority of the series. Cannot wait for this one. Heading into how do they match up? Both these teams bring a lot of youth, a lot of really talented. They both play excellent defense. Minnesota has one of the best on-ball defenders in Anthony Edwards, I was mentioning. They're really lengthy, really tall, really impose their size. And then the Thunder have been number one defensive efficiency for a majority of the year. They're number one in defensive transition. They're excellent. This team can get out and run and just have that kind of youth going with them. Looking at Minnesota first, this team is carried by Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. Why? As I said earlier, I picked the Lakers to win the series. I'll be upfront and honest about it. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a diehard Laker fan. I did think they would win the series, though, but what I didn't account for is that Julius Randle would really take his game to the next level. I didn't think that Julius Randle was going to play like the second star that he's been playing. And I thought that it was kind of going to leave Anthony Edwards by himself, and the Lakers would have too much. But I was wrong. Anthony Edwards averaging around 27 points per game, doing what he does best. And Julius Randle has upped his points per game by 5 to 6 points from the regular season to the playoffs. He's averaging about 24 points per game in the playoffs so far. Those two are balling and can cause some serious matchup problems. I don't know who they're going to put on Julius Randle. I guess it's Chet Holmgren. We'll get to that maybe in a minute. But I think there's some real matchup problems between Edwards and Julius Randle. The question for Minnesota is, where's the other scoring going to come from? They have 4 guys in double figures: Edwards, Randle, Jay McDaniels, a little over 15 points a game. A lot of that came in the Lakers series. The Lakers could not guard him. He absolutely destroyed the Lakers in a couple games in that series. And then Naz Reid with 11 points off the bench. The rest of the lineup, they play 8 guys. Conley's averaging about 7 points a game. Gobert about 9 points a game. That's also a little juice because of what he did in Game 5 against the Lakers. DiVincenzo averaging 8 points a game, and Gilgeous-Alexander Walker with about 7 points a game. They average 108 in the playoffs. The Thunder average 117. So where's the other scoring going to come from? Who's going to step up that maybe hasn't been that guy so far yet in these playoffs? Is it Dante DiVincenzo? I think he has the ability to really become an elite scorer. Mike Conley's not what he used to be, but he should probably get more involved in scoring. He did make some big shots in those games against the Lakers at the end of it. This team has been 25-6 since March 1st, and with only 3 losses since like March 28th or something like that. Again, averaging 108 points a game, averaging about 42 rebounds a game, 25 assists per game, so they share the ball a lot, 8 steals per game, about 5 blocks per game, and their assist-to-turnover margin is about 2. And they do turn the ball over about 13 times a game. That's something they got to watch against Oklahoma City, because looking at Oklahoma City, they are fantastic at turning the ball over. They make you pay. I think you saw this in Game 7 against the Nuggets. Something about this series is Caruso guarding Jokic. I mean, he was fantastic. And you look at that on paper, you go, how the hell is Alex Caruso going to guard Nikola Jokic? But he did. I don't know if they got that from the Lakers a little bit. Jared Vanderbilt, JJ Redick, to his credit, early in the year when the Lakers went into Denver and got a big victory, they threw Jared Vanderbilt on him and gave him massive problems. Anthony Davis could never guard him. A lot of the bigs in the NBA can't guard him, but when you put a smaller player on him who's pesky and kind of get in the ball before he gets into his ball action, there's some problems there. And I think they kind of figured something out. Caruso was fantastic, the excellent defender he is. He comes off the bench, leading the way. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 29 points a game. Going to be the MVP. Fantastic player. Jalen Williams averaging about 20 points per game. He had a really bad game 6, which is one of the reasons that Denver won in Denver, but he kind of bounced back in game 7 to be that number 2 option. And that's been a major question is this Thunder lineup is lethal, top to bottom. They're really good, but did they have the number 2 to go win a championship? Because you look at Jalen Williams on paper, is he the number 2 of a lot of teams? Probably not. But you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That was a major question coming in, and they've made it this far. So shout out to them. Chet Holmgren averaging about 16 points a game. Hartenstein with about 10 points and 9 rebounds a game. He's been very crucial. Lou Dort starts. He averages only about 8 points a game. He's out there for defense. He's a fantastic defender. He usually takes one of the best offensive players. Be interesting to see if they try to put Dort on Edwards and hope Shai doesn't get in foul trouble against Anthony Edwards, or do they put him on Julius Randle? Julius Randle is a big matchup problem in this series that I think I'm gonna get to in a second. Jalen Williams comes off the bench. The other Jalen Williams, about 3 points a game. Caruso, as I mentioned, about 9 points per game, but the excellent defender he is. Him or Dort are almost always playing because that's the kind of Oklahoma City secret sauce is that they have an elite defender starting and on the bench at all times. There's never really the whole team's good defenders, but they never really have a bad defender and not a lockdown defender on the floor at all times. Isaiah Joe, about 5 points a game. Kason Wallace, about 6. And Aaron Wiggins, who had a couple of really big games across the 2 series with about 8 points a game. This is where I think the series is going to be won and lost. Because before I get to that, 117 points a game by the Thunder. They average about 46 rebounds a game, 25 assists per game, very similar to the Timberwolves. I'm actually surprised they average about 4 more rebounds a game. About 11 steals per game, and they only turn the ball over about 10 times a game. This goes into the Timberwolves turn the ball over about 13 to 14 times a game. In Oklahoma City's assist to turnover ratio is 2.4. That's really good. I mean, they share the ball. This kind of goes into the fact that anyone on the floor can score for Oklahoma City. Who's going to guard Randle, though? That's the big X factor in this series. Julius Randle is a matchup problem for all these guys. Do you try to put a Caruso or a Dort on him? I think Julius Randle's too big for him, even though, Jokic is obviously bigger than Randle, but Jokic is not going to be really he has taken guys off the dribble, but Randle is a beast. He can take guys off the dribble, take you to the rack. Do they put Holmgren on him for a little more length? But Holmgren's very skinny. Randle kind of has that size advantage there. The series is going to be won and lost where for Minnesota, if they can get someone else to step up besides Randle and Edwards, and then can Oklahoma City match the physicality of Minnesota? Because Minnesota is an extremely physical team. They got Gobert down there as an excellent defender. How are they going to do that? Because I do think in the losses that they've had against Denver, they kind of got pushed around a little bit. And they're a very elusive team, a very kind of get out and run team. And when it's on, it's pretty. But Minnesota likes to hand check. They like to kind of muddy the water. It's going to be interesting to see how do the refs play this. Do the refs let them hand check? Do the refs let them get after a little bit? That's going to favor Minnesota. If they're calling kind of ticky-tack fouls, that's certainly going to favor Oklahoma City. But, the Minnesota's going to want to make this muddy. Anthony Edwards has been there before in the Western Conference Finals. We'll see if kind of Shai and them are ready for this moment. But heading on to what Vegas is telling us, I'm surprised at how big the series prices are. The Thunder are minus 375 and the Timberwolves are plus 300. For you gamblers out there, if you want to bet on the Timberwolves, you bet $100, you win 300 plus your 100 back. So they're saying that the Thunder are almost 4-1 favorites to win this series. You have to bet $375 to win 100. I'm surprised at how big that series is. I'm actually going to go on a limb. I think the Timberwolves are going to win this in 7 games. I think that the size is actually going to be a problem for the Thunder, and I think the Timberwolves have a really good way of keeping things close, and I don't know that Oklahoma City, in my opinion, has proven to me yet against the upper tier competition. Do they know how to close games properly versus just boat racing them? I don't know. Maybe I'm eating crow at the end of this. Vegas certainly agrees with Oklahoma City. I think Minnesota's actually going to win the series, though. I think Anthony Edwards, this might be his time. And the way Julius Randle's playing, I don't see a matchup for the Thunder with this. I really don't know how they're going to do that. They are going to need DiVincenzo and these guys to step up. And then the kind of playoffs as a whole, the odds to win the championship. The Thunder are minus 180, Knicks plus 485, Timberwolves plus 600, and the Pacers are plus 750. So I'm surprised how big of a favorite Oklahoma City is for not being there before. Like a Celtics or something, if they were there, having won the championship last year, I'd understand them being a minus 180 favorite. I am surprised, though, at how much of a favorite they are. I think that all the teams in the playoffs have the youth to match them, and a lot of these teams simply just can't run with Oklahoma City. But Vegas does know a lot, so we'll see if that happens. We'll be back with a preview video for Knicks and Pacers tomorrow. Very excited for that series as well. A lot to break down on that end of the bracket. I feel like this despite those odds that Vegas is telling us, I feel like it's pretty wide open. I think you could legit make a case for every team in the Final Four to win a championship, and you wouldn't be crazy. I do agree that, the Thunder on paper should be the favorite. I'm actually, as I mentioned, picking Minnesota in 7, but you can make a legit case for every team in it left in the field. And I think that's a fun thing. I think that's a good thing for the NBA, and I can't wait to see it underway. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, if you're new to the channel, really appreciate you checking us out. Alan does a morning show, the Sliwa show, tremendous. Can't recommend it enough. And then I'll be doing these preview videos for the Western Eastern Conference Finals. So thank you, everybody. Have a good one, and look forward to these basketball games.